Well, guys, we've already messed up because we didn't do the intro video. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's here tonight, man. Welcome to Dirty Fanatics United. I am your host, C Money, my co host, Cody Keeler, and our special guest tonight, Mr. David, is here to talk Falcon football. Falcon fans, hit that like button, leave a subscribe, comment, bring the questions to the screen. I want to give a shout out to everybody that tunes in tonight because you could be anywhere in the world and you're here tonight with DFU. So shout out to you guys. Cody, before we get to it, man, we have an exciting game to talk about the Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings. What a game it was. But before we get to that, Cody, what's going on, man? Glad to have you here tonight. It's been a while since me and Cody's been able to sit behind the screen and chat about these birds. So, Cody, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, man, just another busy week at work. But man, work weeks go a lot faster and a lot better after a win. I'll say it's been nice not to have to field, the same three questions: what happened, why did they lose? It's always so much better after a win.
It is so much better to be a Falcon fan after a dub. And shout out to Alna with the first comment. He says, "Dang it, it's good to be a Falcon fan." Tyler, you are absolutely correct, brother. It is nice to be a Falcon fan, especially off of that type of dub. We're going to break it down. We're going to dive right into it here in just a second. David, what's going on, man? Glad to have you back on the channel for the second time. For those that didn't watch last Sunday's podcast, Mr. David is here to talk Falcon football, a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan. David, what's going on, brother? How you been?
Just chilling. Like you said, the week always goes better after a Falcon win. I get rag because, I'm going to support the Birds, win, lose, or draw. And, always good to walk into work and everybody knows that the Falcons won. And,
Yes,
you
sir.
get your props. Of course, I'm repping all day, every day, work,
Absolutely.
home. And everybody knows that when I walk in, it's going to be something Falcon following me. So
I wore the Falcon welding cap all week this week. There was not a day the Falcon welding cap was not on this boy's head. So yeah, I feel you there, David. Falcon logoed out all week throughout the work week. Definitely happy about the 22-6 dub against the Minnesota Vikings. Falcon fans, we're here to talk Falcon football, and we're going to start it off with this defense. What a performance from the Atlanta Falcons defense, one of your worst ranking areas from the past 4 to 5 years. The Atlanta Falcons seem to maybe have gotten it right this year. Cody, David, there's a lot of new faces when it comes to this defense, and I must say those faces stole the show Sunday in Minnesota, only allowing 3 field goals. Yes, it was a field goal fest, but shout out to the Atlanta Falcons defense. Cody, just from the top, man, it can be the whole game overall. Give me your views and aspects of how the game went Sunday, what you were expecting. Was that what you expected, or was it because at the end of it, there was a lot of Falcon fans that were texting me. They're like, "Man, we could have beat these guys 40-6. Like if offense could have got started, we could have beat these guys 40-6. A Sunday night blowout on live TV, which it kind of was. 22-6 is a pretty good win. Cody, your thoughts from the very beginning, from kickoff to special teams to defense. What is your views on the Atlanta Falcons Sunday night on primetime?
Yeah, man. Well, first off, it was good to see our Birds in primetime, man. Again, it shows, with 5 this year that, they're expecting a lot out of this team, and so are we, and so am I. My thoughts on the game, no, I did not expect a 5 field goal game. By the way, shout out to Romo,
Yes,
kid
sir.
out of Peachtree City, local to Georgia boy, give him all those flowers, as big as a Youngway Koo fan, as I've been and a supporter. Koo, you may have just lost your spot, buddy, I would say, and rightfully so. Is that kid? Now, the first one was a little scary. I won't lie. I thought he missed the first one. But I guess part of me is like, this is kind of the struggle of being a Falcon fan. It's like you want to see him go out and dominate, because I'm one of those people. It's like we easily could have beat it probably should have been 3 or 4 touchdowns instead of field goals.
Yeah.
But you know what? At this point, as a 30 years into this thing, man, I will take ugly wins over good losses. I will take, I don't care if you beat them by an inch or by a mile. Just go get that W, and that's all that mattered to me. Some things, that kind of bother me still. I don't understand. We watched Michael Penix in the offseason during training camp and all those things. These deep shots that he was taking, and just – why is that not a thing yet? Why are we not letting him go deep? Now, I understand that, Drake London had the shoulder injury and probably wasn't 100%. Darnell Mooney is probably not 100% yet. But then the other part of me goes, well, your offense is based on Bijan Robinson. How Bijan goes, so goes the team. Mm-hmm. And man, did Bijan put on a show again, like he does. Put up 167 yards, 168 yards of total offense, which he outgained the entire Vikings offense. So that was very good to see after the, kind of struggle that we had against Tampa Bay and the really lack thereof of a run game. To see the run game come out week 2 and really, break things down. The other great thing to see, in week 2, and I know it's just week 2, Elijah Wilkinson's isn't an issue yet, and it's been a good thing. I still want Caleb McGarry in that spot, but it's nice to see that next man up mentality has come up with the offensive line. That's something that's been going around is the offensive line had been going into the running backs room and going like, look guys, we screwed up week 1. This isn't on anybody but us.
Right.
And it really showed that accountability to, their teammates, like, hey, we've got to get things figured out. The communication between the offensive line was much, much better. You didn't see a lot of guys, stuck on that first level of blocking. You see them getting to the next level, which helps Bijan, cut and break and, snatch ankles, which, what Bijan's good at. So for me overall, yes, it was, nerve-wracking, but really, man, after halftime, we come out and now, we're up by 9. It's like, okay, if this has got to be a field goal game, as long as we can control the clock. And again, that's something else that this Falcon team is doing that last year didn't do. Controlling the ball and bleeding the clock and owning time of possession. I don't know what it was as far as, how long the Vikings held it and how long we did it. I'll
give you that stat real quick, Cody. Time of possession for each team. The Atlanta Falcons possessed the ball for 36 minutes and 32 seconds. The Minnesota Vikings, 23 minutes and 28 seconds. The Falcons dominated when it came to time of possession.
And that's key for this team, because that means we're running the ball and you're controlling the clock. But man, what a difference a year makes on defense, and a change of coaching, in coaching does. All of our rookies, Billy Bowman, Xavier Watts, Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., and man, who's going to stop Divine Diablo? That is one bad
what a
dude.
diamond in the rough.
And the other thing I don't think the Falcon fans are talking enough about, Brandon Dorless, man. Brandon Dorless has been quiet. He's been quiet as far as media goes, but he is bringing pressure, and he is bringing it hard, and he's been putting a ton of pressure on the quarterback.
Well, Cody, even when you talk about Divine Diablo, even the way that he plays in pass coverage, Divine Diablo has had some major breakups when it comes to tight ends. Jumping in front of the ball in front of Mike Evans, one of the greatest to do it. And then you see their tight end, TJ Hawkinson, he comes in for the pass breakup. Divine Diablo could easily be the best free agency signing the Atlanta Falcons picked up this offseason.
Yeah, absolutely.
By a long shot.
Yeah, and he is what I fully expected. The home cat that always wore red sleeves.
You talking about Matthew Judon?
Matthew Judon, thank you. Yeah, I would say he's turning out to be what I expected Judon to be, and he's doing it at a much better pace and actually affecting games. So, man, just as an overall Falcons, I would like to have seen more touchdowns and field goals, but man, overall, I give this game an A. You got the dub. You went into a very hostile environment that it's very loud, that's very hard to play in. We saw that early, but this team managed to take that crowd out and make it easier for Michael Penix and Bijan for everybody to communicate. So that was awesome to see. It was awesome to see them take this. Guys, let's be honest. I understand the new year, new quarterback for the Minnesota, but this was a 14-2 team, or what was it, 14-3. Deep playoff push, and we went in there after they embarrassed us last year, and we wouldn't go ahead. We came back in and we curb stomped them.
Well, and you talk about McCarthy being a young quarterback. The veterans are still there. Aaron Jones, a really great running back. He just hit IR after the Falcons game. And then you got McCarthy that also was injured after the Falcons game. Like, the Falcons were bringing pressure. David, you heard what Cody's overall summary was of the game. Now, I would love to hear what you thought about the Atlanta Falcons in week 2 a major bounce back game that we spoke on before the game Sunday that, it wasn't a must win, but it was a very huge win when it comes to the NFC South or NFC push at all. You beat the Minnesota Vikings in their hometown in a very, very hostile environment. David, what did you think about these Dirty Birds? And real quick, shout out to Samantha Ellison over on YouTube, says #Rise Up. David, your thoughts on Sunday's game?
Okay, Cody just mentioned how the Falcons won. Like you said, ugly win over a pretty loss is exactly like I said. A lot of Atlanta fans want the win, but they want you to win how they want you to win. And that's the biggest problem I have, looking at the social media and stuff. We won, but like I said, we got to get to a point where we got to look at the game plan. The game plan wasn't for Penix to throw the ball 42 times, and you got to go how the game goes. The Bijan, Tyler were working. It was going to be a defensive game. What they went in thinking, they wanted to limit the crowd noise with Penix. You saw early in the game he was having communication problems. So they simplified the game, and they didn't change. They weren't going to change the game plan until Minnesota was showed they was going to be able to stop the running game. The running game was hot, and they rode it. But now a lot of fans say, well, Penix didn't have 135 yards.
That's right.
But he didn't need for those 135 yards because of how the game was going.
Right.
So, yeah, my biggest thing, I love the game plan. I can watch a defensive game, being this far along and watching football. I could definitely watch a defensive game, and if the defense playing like they were playing, ride your defense, run the ball, control the clock, and get out to the win. Of course, we do have to get better in the red zone. That's nothing short of common sense when it comes to football.
Very true statement.
Yeah, we got to get better in the red zone. But if the defense can win the game for you, let the defense win the game for you. Was I nervous in the fourth quarter? Were we going to be the same old Falcons? Of course I was. You were looking for the damn to break, but this time it never did. And that defense played lights out, and I enjoyed every minute of it. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, strip sack, fumble recovery. Oh man, I was in heaven going wild watching the game. So, can we repeat that game plan again this week? I definitely hope so. Still got a young quarterback trying to find his way, and Coach Albright light him up again, and make them show that they can be, take away the run and make Bryce Young beat you, and light him up with pressure and keep going. Everybody's talking about how young McCarthy is. Our quarterback is only put 3 games in front of his progression. He got a few games last year. McCarthy didn't because of injury, but we're still playing with basically a rookie quarterback ourselves. So I'm not making any excuses for JJ McCarthy. I love our team. I love what they're doing. Keep it up, and just let's ride this season and see what it's going to be for us.
Absolutely. Southside Ricky in the comment section with it. He says, "What's going on, everyone? Falcons Nation over everybody." He also says, that defense was insane. I have never seen a Falcons defense like it. The offense will get there. I wholeheartedly agree with what Southside Ricky is stating here, because it is very early into the season. It takes time to find that identity. Cody, you remember last year that was something that got brought on the topic every week until about week 6. When will the Falcons find that identity? It was week 4, week 5, when I truly believe the offense snapped in, when the Falcons faced the Buccaneers in the primetime game. You and Philip attended that game as well. A very, very high dominant game. I mean, the Falcons showed out that game with a shootout against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Cody, with a better quarterback.
With a better quarterback, exactly.
With a better quarterback.
And you do have to give, you have to give Minnesota's, defense credit. They're very exotic. They're a very exotic defense. And Michael Penix, I saw something on Facebook, I believe, that Michael Penix is the only quarterback right now in the NFL, starting quarterback, that has not thrown what the PFF is calling a turnover graded ball. He's the only quarterback right now to have not put the ball in harm's way. And that's all you can ask your rookie, to David's point, basically our rookie quarterback not to do is protect the football and not give turnovers. And he's done that.
Yeah, you look at, there was a clip that was posted out on Facebook in the locker room of the Falcons celebrating after the dub, and I commented on that post and said it just seemed like Penix was very frustrated with the way that win came. It's like, for him to be such a young player to have such accountability for that at a quarterback position as it is, that's a very huge role to run at a young age. And it's a big playbook. Zach Robinson has a lot of motion, a lot of, you have a tight end pulling almost every play. If it's not a tight end, you have a receiver in motion every play. So, not only does Michael Penix have to know his job, but he has to know every receiver's job, every lineman's job, who's motioning, who's staying, where the ball's being handed off. So I think as of week 2, Michael Penix has played exceptionally well. I think, last year, towards the end of the year, you've seen those fireworks. And that's what these Falcon fans are expecting right out the gate. Guys, these players have had 0 snaps before week 1, week 2. Like, they were always practicing, but they had 0 live snaps until week 1. And it kind of showed a little bit. Week 1, it showed, some of the timing was off with the receivers. Some of the receivers weren't making those breaks that Penix were expecting them to make. And you've seen Penix correct that as they came to the huddle. Penix was leading, as a leader would do. I want to kind of turn the page here a little bit from the offense and speak on the defense side of the ball. The Falcons did take a major injury Sunday night. We don't know the full extent. All we know is the week-to-week. A.J. Terrell has a hamstring injury. Cody, you've seen the 5-man rush. You've seen the blitz packages. But as soon as Terrell was taken out of the game, you went to a 4-man rush, which was fine. I mean, you didn't come away with 5 sacks in the first half or in the second half like you did the first. You were still able to get pressure on McCarthy and create turnovers, something that Mr. David brought up last Sunday night when he stated how many turnovers did the Falcons miss on defense. If you make those turnovers week 1, you're really talking about a Falcons defense number 1 in the NFL.
Yep.
So, Cody, while we're talking about A.J. Terrell, just elaborate that on real quick. How do you feel if, Terrell is missing next Sunday against a NFC South opponent, the Carolina Panthers? I will call that game a must-win. Any NFC South divisional opponent is a must-win game. Cody, how do you feel about A.J. Terrell? Raheem Morris stated it is week to week, hasn't really gave a full table on when he could return. A lingering hamstring injury can be a problem throughout the year. We've seen it with other players in the past. Jeff Okudah's a good one to look at, and some other players that the Falcons have stated that have been here have taken those kind of injuries. Obviously, you want to see AJ at 100%. Cody, your thoughts on maybe who fills that role? D. Alford was the call-up man Sunday. How do you feel about that? And just the direction of the defense. How do you see that going?
Well, it's you can't really replace AJ. AJ, for my money, is easily top 10, top 5, at what he does. He shuts people down. Yeah, he gets burned every once in a while, but some of these Falcon fans that hate on AJ, I still don't get it, man. Like I said, I don't think you could really replace him. I think D can do a decent job, but I think it's really going to come down to Coach Brick and how he runs that runs the front again, because you can help D out a lot if you're getting pressure like we did against Minnesota. Because if the quarterback's not having time to get downfield and get to third read, second, whatever read he's getting down to, well, guess what? Now D doesn't have to cover as long. It gives him more of an opportunity to, if he makes a mistake, the quarterback's now scrambling because he's got Jalen Walker on his butt, or he's got, James Pierce Jr. breathing down his neck. Obviously, I want to see AJ out there. I want him to get healthy, though. I think this is an okay game. I know Carolina just drafted that real speedy, wide receiver, but I think, with Xavier Watts back there, I think with Jesse Bates back there, we're going to be okay, especially if you can get that pressure and make a Bryce Young run around, scramble, and make him make bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can't. I don't want to see Coach Brick get away from how exotic our defense really was, Sunday night, because it had McCarthy, sitting back there. You could tell he was lost, and we've got to do that to Bryce Young too. So as far as the AJ thing, yeah, it really sucks. I thought it was a cramp, just the way he's kind of walking and how he popped up. So unfortunately, it was a little more, it's probably a little more serious than cramps. But again, Coach Brick, if he can get that defense rolling like we did with the pressures and stuff like that, he can cover that up. he can cover up, going from an AJ to a D Alford. So.
Mr. David, speaking on the AJ Terrell, the Atlanta Falcons did work multiple defensive backs out this week, as far as BJ Mays, defensive back from Texas A&M, also Eli Ricks from Alabama, Ethan Robinson from Minnesota, and Amper Speed from Michigan State. David, hearing that the Falcons are working out multiple defensive backs, Alvino brings up Kobe Bryant, and Southside Ricky brings up C.J. Henderson, the guy that you selected right before the season kicked off. Your thoughts on the replacement or the bring up of D. Alford while Terrell is out? Carolina does have now 2 former first-round picks in the McMillan guy. I may be saying that name wrong, and also Leggett. How do you feel with the matchup of Mike Hughes against one of those guys, and also, D. Alford, a guy that struggled a little bit last year in the Atlanta Falcons, Jimmy Lake defense, now Jeff Ulbrich. So the guy can redeem himself. But how do you feel about, going into a Carolina game without AJ Terrell?
Keep D. Alford in the slot. Do not put him on the outside. That's what number one. Out of all the names that's called, I'm kind of interested in what C.J. Henderson role was going to be on this team. They have him. I think they put him on the practice squad so he can acclimate it to the defense. But I think out of all the names that's on the roster, the one that I want to say what talent-wise, or where he was, what I've seen from him in the past, draft position, his work in college, he has starting outside corner. The slot and outside is 2 different beasts.
Right.
So I definitely think, out of all the names, I don't think Kobe Bryant is quite ready yet. I think he still needs some more time on the practice squad, but I have seen C.J. Henderson do it at a professional level. So out of all the names that's been called, I don't put D. Alford back on the outside. That's a no-no in my book.
A name that I think about, that got some snaps last year when Mike Hughes was hurt and banged up a little while. Clark Phillips III. I don't know if he's still on that injury list. He has been lingering on that list for throughout training camp. Never really. I don't know if he was announced hurt this past week or what that may be. D. Alford may fit that scheme better. Clark Phillips III, Cody, what's your thoughts on that young cat? A draftee that we selected. You've seen the speed. He has a lot of ups to be so short. But your thoughts on Clark Phillips III. Now, keep in mind, C.J. Henderson would be a great matchup because he is a taller cornerback. Right. Both of these receivers that we face Sunday are taller guys. Your thoughts on Clark Phillips III or C.J. Henderson?
Well, if Clark Phillips III is ready to go, I'm in his camp. I have been since we talked to Mike Johnson about him, about just he's got that dog in him, man. So I have no problem with him coming in and filling that spot. He may be short, but man, he's aggressive, and sometimes that these wide receivers can be divas, man. We don't know what how Carolina's rookie wide receiver is when it gets to, hey, I've got this guy that's 5'9" and he's in my grill all day. How does that affect how he plays? So for my money, Clark Phillips III, if healthy, is just fine with me. Like I say, I like the way he plays. He plays fast. He plays physical. And being a guy that's 5'9", I'm always rooting for the guy.
That's right. That's right. Cody, we're gonna turn the page back to Minnesota because we haven't yet to give our stat wise of what. I mean, a lot of people already know it is Wednesday night, or it's been a long week already since Sunday, but this is the first time DFU's been able to go live with it. So we'll just talk about some player stats, man. Michael Penix, 13 for 21, 135 yards. Bijan Robinson, 22 carries for 143 yards. David, we were spot on Sunday night when we said the key to win this game is get the run game started. And I must say, Bijan Robinson bounced back tremendously from a 25-yard gain the first week to 143 yards. Tyler Algier with 16 touches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Penix, 1 carry, negative yard. Probably wouldn't even mark that on the stat board. Drake London, 3 catches for 49 yards, did have the fumble that, man, at first when that fumble happened, dude, it's like you just seen the life suck out of Drake London. And it's like, Drake, you're not that guy. Like, get back in, get locked back in because you're really him. Kyle Pitts, 4 catches for 37 yards. Bijan, 3 for 25. Darnell Mooney, 2 for 20. Nice to see Darnell Mooney back in action week 2. Tyler Algier, 1 for 4. Defensively, David Onamata, 3 tackles, 2 assists. Zach Harrison, 2 tackles, 3 assists, a sack and a half. D. Alford with 2 tackles. Caden Ellis, 2 for 2 on tackles and assists. Billy Bowman Jr., the rookie, 2 tackles, 2 assists, and an interception. AJ Terrell, 2 for 1. Mike Hughes, 2 tackles. Ebiketie, 2 tackles. Diablo, 1 for 3, or 1 and 3. Brandon Dolores, what a surprise with Brandon Dolores. This new Jeff Ulbrich scheme is really fitting in for Brandon. 1 tackle, 2 assists, a sack and a half. Also, Jesse Bates, 1 tackle, 2 assists. Jalen Walker with a tackle, assist, and a sack as well. Shout out to Jalen Walker. Xavier Watts, possibly the best draft selection that the Falcons made this year. 1 tackle, 1 assist with an interception. Leonard Floyd, 1 tackle, 1 sack. Guys, did you hear all these sacks? This is real stats. James Pierce Jr., 2 tackles, half a sack. Drake London, obviously no tackles. Ruko Hirohu, 1 assist and a half a sack. D'Angelo Malone, 0 for 0. Didn't get much playing time for Malone Sunday as it was. And then our guy, possibly the new kicker, Romo, with 5 for 5. And his longest was a 54-yard field goal.
That would have been good for about 60.
That would have been definitely good for 60. Romo, I mean, the Falcons have maybe found their new kicker. I wanted to talk about that because it has been released this week that Romo is your starter Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. Cody, I'm going to start with you because you're probably the biggest Coup fan I have ever met in my life. We're going to start with Cody. Romo, is that your new kicker if he does well Sunday? And you're going to officially see the wave of Coup next week?
Yeah, probably. I think this is, Raheem's kind of – the way I think the Falcons are kind of looking at it is like, hey, okay, cool. It's cool to make, 5, go 5 for 5 indoors. Now let's see what you do outdoors. Now, I think the weather in Carolina this weekend I think it's supposed to be in the mid 80s. It's not supposed to be wet. It's supposed to be, kind of sunny.
God,
so
because that field is trash.
That field is absolute garbage, I would say. But what can you expect from such a poverty franchise? But
hey, sell the tickets before you sell the team. Damn it, sell the tickets.
That's right. But yeah, I have a feeling that the moving trucks are coming for Youngway. As much as that sucks, I've always
Cody,
preached this.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but elaborate on what it means that Coup decided not to travel with the team.
Oh, he made a decision?
Yeah, that was Coup's decision.
Oh, wow.
That he made the decision to not travel with the team. Cody, your thoughts?
Well, my thing is man, I think that's kind of him. It's one of 2 things, honestly. I say it's either one thing, and I don't know how well this, might have worked for him to not travel because he's taking a mental day, but then you turn around and watched a kid do what you haven't been able to do for the last 2 years, which would be tough, to sit there. I'm not saying that Youngway would ever root against the Falcons or anything like that, or against the kid, but man, if that was your plan, was to sit at home and kind of get your head right, it didn't look too good for you job security wise, because he was like you said, that 54-yarder. Looked like, he kicked it. I thought he would have made it from 70. The way
Cody, as soon as he made the kick, I texted you and David and said, "Bye, Coup. It's over with Coup."
Yeah. So again, like I said, I think if the kid, if Romo comes out and puts up, now. To be 100% honest, I don't want to see another 5 field goal game. I want, maybe 2 and, 4 touchdowns. But,
right.
But if he comes out there and kicks, 2 50-yard field goals, and seals it, I'll always preach this. Like, I root for the name on the back of the jersey, but the logo on the side of the helmet is always more important. And if Romo's going to win me football games and get the Falcons, help the Falcons make, win the South, get in the playoffs, win playoff games, that's what I'm here for, and, the memories are real. I'll never forget I'll never forget the games that Coup won for us, the swag that he had when he did it. But man, if Romo's going to win me football games now, I'm down to see the swag this kid's got. And he's a Georgia boy. So, always pull for the Georgia kid.
Absolutely. David, obviously we spoke on Coup Sunday, and, one of our main statements was this is Romo's audition. Like this determines if Romo makes the Atlanta Falcons squad. Now you hear Raheem Morris stated that he's 90% sure that Romo will be the starter Sunday. Obviously, that 10% for injury throughout the week. But David, your thoughts on Parker Romo, his first initial start here in Atlanta, and what that means for Koo this coming up Sunday.
Yeah, well, like I said, Koo's been a fan favorite here for years and years, and like I said, we see how the fan base will turn on you at the drop of a hat. You come in and like saying cost us maybe the New Orleans game last year. Mm-hmm. He cost us from going into overtime. I can't say he cost us to win against Tampa, and those are two division teams. And the season, we have to beat those division opponents for the Atlanta fans to be happy. You can't lose that Saints game because of a kick, and you can't not go into overtime because of a missed kick. It's a make a miss league when it comes to these kickers. If you're not making the field goals and stuff, you're not doing the team any good. So yeah, he has to make that field goal. And like I said, when he missed it, you knew some changes were going to come. Raheem can't come out and say that, straight up, but they started making phone calls before they got out of the locker room.
Oh yeah.
Romo came in. You go 5 from 5, and now he's the new hot name for the Atlanta fans until he's not. So
until he's not.
Welcome to Atlanta, Romo. But like I said, you in the dirty South. You come in, you the hot kid now, but you got to do your job.
Mm-hmm. Do your job. Yeah, we all know what NFL really stands for, and that's not for long. If you're not doing your job, man.
Not for long.
I thought. Now, did you guys see the interview with Romo after the game where she introduced the interviewer introduced him to
Leonard
Floyd or the Divine God? Yeah, didn't know who he was.
Hey, has been here long enough to learn the name.
That was funny. That was probably the best interview I've heard in a while. Speaking of, not only we talked about AJ Terrell being injured, but you head into a game Sunday against a very, very banged up offensive line. The Carolina Panthers guard Robert Hunt has a torn bicep that will go on to an IR. Their center Austin Corbett has a left MCL injury as well that is going to IR, and maybe a possibility of return for him. You talk about a guard that's out and a center that's out. This Falcons defense is coming off of 6 sacks, guys. This could be another very, very big game for the Atlanta Falcons. Cody, elaborate, and I know it's kind of early. It's not Sunday. We usually don't do our keys to success on Sunday until Sunday, but we're going to go ahead and do it tonight because, the hype from the Vikings game is kind of faded. We've spoke on it. We've talked about the differences. Real quick, just to make it a full recap on that game, let's talk about team stats real quick, and then we'll go to the Panther aspect of next week. The Atlanta Falcons team stats here, man. Like, what a phenomenal game. Total yards, 326 to the Vikings, 198. 108 passing yards to their 120. We had 218 rushing yards to their 78. You will not run the ball against the Atlanta Falcons. 5.2 yards per play to their 4.3. We had 19 first downs to their 10. We had 6 out of 15 third down efficiencies. They were 4 for 11. They went for fourth down twice. They only got it once. We had 63 total plays. They had 46. Sacks allowed, 3 for us, which needs to be corrected ASAP. I do not want to see Penix get hit that many times. The Minnesota Vikings allowed 6 sacks against the Atlanta Falcons. We punted the ball 3 times. They punted 4 times. Penalties were a lot better Sunday night than they were week 1. We only had 5 penalties for 29 yards to their 8 for 50. We had 1 fumble. They had 2. We thrown 0 interceptions to their 2. We had 36.32 time possession to their 23.28. We're scoring right now, guys. We're scoring right now. Falcon fans, the Atlanta Falcons dominated the Minnesota Vikings, and that's where we're going to leave week 2 in Minnesota. A phenomenal dub for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, can you carry that over into week 3? Cody, now the talk starts about the Carolina Panthers. How do the Falcons beat a banged-up 0-2 Carolina Panthers team in Charlotte?
Well, you got to do the same thing you did against Minnesota. You got to make a younger quarterback in Young look like McCarthy did. I would say that was probably one of my favorite stats that I saw was that if JJ McCarthy had spiked the ball on every passing play that the Vikings took, he would have had a higher quarterback rating than he would have doing what he did.
Crazy.
And that's insane. If you could do that to other quarterback, any quarterback, you're gonna win the football game. So I think the keys to success, and it will, to me, it always, every Sunday, it goes without fail. The keys to the game are always getting Bijan going. Get Bijan going. That is always going to be my number one thing. Get Bijan the ball, get him rolling, get that offensive line comfortable, do all that stuff. But then again, the other thing, the next thing that is important is, can you continue? I guess the key would be continue the trend of making quarterbacks look bad. Make Young's life a living hell. You've got to put pressure on him. You've got to get him on the ground. So, I don't care if it's Jalen Walker. I don't care if it's Pierce. I don't care if it's Caden Ellis. Just get back, get in his face. So those are going to be my keys. Get Bijan going, because we all know what Bijan can do, and make Bryce Young's life a living hell. You're muted.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Southside Ricky. He's been coming with the comments all night. He says, the holding call on Wilkerson was some bull. What was he supposed to do? Let the player that jumped off sides hit his prize quarterback? Yeah, the play should have been called dead from the
unabated.
Right when it started, the play should have been called dead. That was some bull, Southside.
Yeah,
it definitely was. David, headed to you with the Carolina Panthers game, man. You've seen the Carolina Panthers not look too hot this year. The Atlanta Falcons cannot afford to let the Panthers figure it out Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. David, how do they prevent that, and how do they win this game in Charlotte and come back to Atlanta against another very big NFC team, the Washington Commanders?
Okay, here's my thing with the Panthers. It's a division game. Throw the records out the book, throw what everybody's saying about how inept the Panthers are looking so far this year. It's a division game, and we know how those go. These teams are very familiar with each other year in, year out. And, like I said, these division games, you never know what happens. Bryce Young is struggling, so we're going to have a field day with him. No, these games are always closely contested games. And, I don't think that this is going to be anything different. I think we're going to pull out the win, most definitely, but we can't let Bryce Young run around the yard. He's a scrambler. He is someone that has been able to handle pressure in the past. He had over 320 yards this past weekend.
Yeah, and almost came back and won. Yeah.
So we can't take them for granted, whether they're offensive line injured. We just can't go in the game thinking we're going to bull rush them and get out of these pass lanes and let him get outside the pocket and kill us. We have been notorious for making these young, inexperienced quarterbacks. Well, in the past, I can't say about this year, making these young, inexperienced quarterbacks look like all pros. Mm-hmm. So, we can't, we got to have a pass rush plan for him, because he's not someone that's just going to sit there. He's got some escapability, and when to get out of the side of the pocket, he can deliver the ball. So,
and expect a lot of that Sunday, because with a banged-up O-line, the Falcons are going to want to bring that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like saying, we have to rush and rush smart. I've seen against Baker week 1, we couldn't contain Baker because we didn't have good pass rush lanes. Right. I saw Ebiketie, take some inside moves, and Baker's right out the door on the backside making plays. So, like I'm saying, division game, we got to play smart. Number one, can't let them get in the rhythm, and got to continue to do, don't let the run game get started, and then make him one-dimensional and have to pass the ball.
Yeah.
But, we got to have a smart pass rush plan for him.
One thing that the Atlanta Falcons defense has looked very well on so far in 2 weeks is the run defense. The run defense exceptionally well in week 2. We face a running back in Chuba Hubbard or Hubbard. Yeah, he's a very well running back. I have him on fantasy. I watch what he does every week. He puts up numbers. The Panthers may not be winning games, but they have a very decent running back. The Atlanta Falcons, what I want to see Sunday, and my biggest question Sunday is, can the Atlanta Falcons still get the pressure they got Sunday night against the Panthers with a quarterback spot? That's one thing I think the Falcons have to solely rely on Sunday is a designated QB spy on every passing play that may be, because we've seen it in the past. You've seen it when the Falcons play Jaden Daniels, when they play Baker Mayfield, when they play Bryce Young as well. I mean, the Falcons have gave up big plays to these running quarterbacks in the past. As David said, we don't know what this new regime looks like just yet against a play action rollout type of quarterback like Bryce Young. This is, other than Baker Mayfield, this is your first true test when it comes to a quarterback that likes to extend plays with his feet. So that's my biggest question for Sunday. My keys to success is you have to have a dominated QB spy, whether that's Jalen Walker, whether that's Caden Ellis. We've seen Caden Ellis do it week 1 for half a quarter. They switched that up, trying to bring a lot of pressure, weren't able to get home, and Baker was able to slip out ultimately, which pretty much led them to win that game when he was able to make those big plays. So the Falcons have to find a way to get to the quarterback, whether that's a 4-man rush or a 5-man rush. They've got to get to the quarterback. Also, as Cody stated, Bijan Robinson, you get him started. Keep it a well-balanced game with Bijan and Tyler. As my guy Southside Ricky said earlier, if you're going to be running the ball in short yardage, it is a Tyler Algier play, which seemed to be what Zach Robinson figured out from week 1, because last week or Sunday night was a lot better game as far as rotating the running backs, giving the short yardage game to Tyler Algier, and not trying to push Bijan more than what we already pushed Bijan to be. Because, guys, let's be for real. The first half, every play was by your running backs. Whether it was a pass play or a run play, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson is what carried your team throughout that first half. Take for granted, and I've seen him forget this at times, Drake London has been, doctoring a shoulder injury since training camp. Darnell Mooney just came back from a shoulder injury as well, his first appearance last week with 2 catches. So it may take these guys until week 5 to feel themselves. That's why I think, we took for granted at the beginning of the year having that early bye week. We were all pretty mad that the Falcons were, lucked out. Now you're glad you have it. Like you're very happy that you have that early bye week. So I think that will tell a lot of how the Falcons play after the bye, of what, our identity may be on this offense with healthy receivers, a healthy O-line. Obviously Caleb McGarry out for the rest of the year. And as you stated, Cody, Elijah Wilkinson isn't a problem yet. You have a flag here and there, a false start here and there, but as we stated earlier, this is a very big playbook when it comes to Zach Robinson's motions, the cadence. All of that takes time to learn. And for now, that's another big factor for Sunday's win. You have got to keep Michael Penix clean, because the Panthers have not been a team this year that has shown sack rates. There was a stat that I read today. The Denver Broncos edge has more pressure than the whole Carolina Panthers team. So that, to me, says you cannot allow the Panthers to tee off on your quarterback. Give him time in the pocket. Let him find those deep balls, Cody, as you stated, that you've seen in training camp. Give him time, because I'll keep it a buck with you. I don't feel like week 1 or week 2 Penix had any time to go to a third progression. It was 1-2, get the ball out. 1-2, dump it off to the check down. It was no deep passes, because I don't think the Falcons are blocking well enough right now for Penix to take those deep passes. So you have to keep Penix clean. You have to get the run game started. The run game creates play action, something we didn't do Sunday. You create the play action. You make your one job on defense simple. That's 3 plays and get off the field. You heard it in Divine Diablo's mic'd up. He said, let's get off the field, guys. All right, let's get off the field. That is your goal. Get off the field and give the ball to your offense. That's my keys to success. The Atlanta Falcons win this game Sunday, I believe. I don't see why they wouldn't. But it is an NFC South game. You can't come in with records, as David said. You have to be, clean slate, 0-0. Win this week and then worry about the next week. Shout out to Sterling Woods over on YouTube. Says we need to keep him in that pocket and put him on the ground. The defense has stopped the running game so far, but can we get turnovers? Sterling Wood also says linebackers will have to play well in this game. Can the offense score some touchdowns in the red zone? Southside Ricky says Divine Diablo may be the steal of this offseason. I've said it. I said it before the season started, Cody, and I'll say it now. Divine Diablo was the best offseason pickup when it comes to free agency. I truly believe that. Speaking on Sterling Wood's comment here, Cody, that kind of elaborates with what I was saying at a QB spy. Cody, do you expect a quarterback spy against Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, or is this going to be a 5-man rush, get to the quarterback, do your assignment, get off the field?
That's gonna be a little tough because I think it's one of those things is I don't want to see the Falcons get away from that exotic defense that we were bringing Sunday night because it was working. I mean, obviously 6 sacks, strip sacks, all those things. But unfortunately, when you get a guy that can make plays with his legs, you might have to. But this is why we drafted Jalen Walker. This is what Jalen Walker lived and did while he was at Georgia. He was one of the best track down, hunch it down, get you from behind, don't care how fast you are, how elusive you are. So, I mean, I wouldn't hate to see Jalen Walker, shadow him all game long. I think you've got to find a way. I think you got to find a way to do, get that 4-man rush going and keep that exotic enough to confuse, Bryce Young while giving up, the extra man to spy on him as well. Man, I don't want to see the QB spy right out the gate. I want to see that 5-man, exotic package with Caden Ellis out on the outside first.
My question is, Cody, can they allow a 5-man rush with Terrell off the field?
I think you can. I think you can. And I think a lot of that's going to have to do with because Carolina's offensive line is beat up. Two of those guys those 2 guys that Carolina's missing on the offensive line are no slouch. Those were really good linemen, and they're not easy to replace. We've been incredibly lucky with Elijah Wilkinson. I know there was a lot of concern with him coming in. Well, now this is the thing that Carolina. So we were, I don't want to say lucky enough, but if we were going to miss a guy, at least we've got it out on the tackle side. He's not directly snapping the ball to your quarterback because now Bryce Young has to get used to the new center. Mm-hmm. He's not taking snaps with this guy like Michael Penix had been taken with our center so that's good news. So they got to be familiar to each other. How is this new center for Carolina going to handle, he's speaking as a center, I would say,
you got some big bodies in front of you.
Well, and not only that, but this is again where the Falcons can take advantage with that exotic play calling on defense. Is you've got a new center under there who now has to identify your mic backers. He's got to make calls out on the offensive line for the other offensive linemen, and he's got to be able to communicate with his quarterback. Now, can he do that efficiently and well with Bryce Young on a short week, or I guess not a short week, but in a week's worth of practice? It's not easy to do, even in the NFL, especially when you've got a defense like ours that has been playing so well. So I think, yes, we can bring that 5-man, but again, the defense has to get pressures and has to get him down on the ground.
Absolutely. David, this is going to be back on last Sunday's game. How did you feel about, a lot of people complained after week 1 that Zach Robinson's offensive scheme was trash, that he could not figure it out. And then week 2, still some concerns with the play calls in certain positions. You didn't see those screens that you've seen in week 1. You've seen a better player personnel when it came to 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, those type of situations. Your thoughts, David, on the execution of Zach Robinson and his play calling, and just to speak a little bit about the beginning of the game when Penix was saying, "Hey, you got to get this call in faster. Like you're not getting this play in faster." Your thoughts on Zach Robinson so far this year?
Well, definitely the playbook has to evolve as the season goes along. It's early in the season, and everyone knows that at this point of the season, defenses are a little bit more advanced than offense, and there are certain things that have, I hope that certain things haven't been installed. And they've, he comes from the Rams that, we saw a real creative playbook with Cooper Kupp and all of those out there. And that's what we thought we were getting. And I know that he has that in his repertoire, but, we've yet to see it. Right. Maybe for whatever reason, he haven't gotten to that part of the playbook yet, but still hoping to see him. I thought the best play call that I saw Sunday was the direct snap to Bijan.
That was crazy.
But no, it was a mistake. From what I see.
Okay.
It wasn't supposed to be a direct snap. According to Penix's interview, it wasn't a direct snap call. And I'm like, oh, that's the best play call of the game.
Yeah.
And then it ends up being Newsel snapped the ball wide left and straight into Bijan's arms, which he turns into a 12-yard gain that set up go from 3rd and 14 to 2nd and 14 to 3rd and short. So I'm thinking that, okay, I like this play call. And then Penix should have kept his mouth closed and not threw his offensive coordinator out there like that. But he came back. But the playbook definitely needs to evolve some. Are we going to be able to run the ball every game like that? I think it's a game by game thing. We got away with it last week because it worked. But at some point, maybe we'll wait for them to stack the box. And then, we're just going about what the defense tries to take away. Did they take away those deep shots and, give us a light box? And we just kept running until they make the adjustment, which they never did. So if they don't make the adjustment, keep going with what you're going. But, game one, the run game one there, we threw 42 times. So maybe he's taking what the defense takes away. So we don't not on the sideline. We're looking, and we don't have the maybe the breakdown of what they're doing, what the press box sees, and it has to. And I have no problem with that. If that's the case, we're taking what the offense gives us, our defense gives us. Win the game. At the end of the game, if Penix throws for 50 yards and we win, if Bijan rushes for 25 yards and we win,
a dub's a dub.
The dub,
as Jameis Winston would say, eat a W.
Just go get the win. However you have to, facilitate that, go get the win.
Absolutely. Chat, let me know in the comment section, A through D, give me your rating of Zach Robinson so far this year. Chat, there is 10 live viewers on YouTube and 12 on Facebook. If you would, please hit that like button. It pushes us through the algorithm and reaches out to new Falcon fans that may not know about Dirty Fanatics United. We cannot do it without you guys. So please, please, please hit that like button if you're watching this live right now. Abno gives the offense a C. Not too bad of a grade. I mean, it could be worse. He could have gave you a D. The Atlanta Falcons, as David said, the playbook will get better. The playbook will start opening as the season continues on. So, I'm not going to freak out too early. I'm not going to freak out, but I will say during the game, I'm a little hostile when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons and their red zone efficiency. It really ate at me that we couldn't get in the touchdown because I just felt like there were plays that, there was just no time for Penix in the pocket in the red zone. Like it was just no time at all. And he didn't have time to check down. At one time he actually missed open Bijan on the flat route because there was so much pressure from that right side early in the game on the red zone, which it is a very hostile environment. Carolina will be nowhere near that loud Sunday. So,
and again, you have to give Minnesota credit to that too, because they are, they're not a bad defense. Again, that was a 14 win team last year.
Yes.
So, and again, they were very exotic up front too. They didn't look quite like we did on the front, but they do, it was something that the commentators kept saying was how exotic, both defenses are. Mm-hmm. And Michael Penix is still a young quarterback, and he's got to learn those things, and he will.
I've seen probably the realest comment that I've seen on Facebook in quite a while, and it stated there had to be a game that Penix looked like a rookie.
Yeah,
and maybe that was just that game. Maybe it was just a game plan. Maybe that was the game plan because I don't think Penix played bad Sunday. Like some people on Facebook were scorching Penix for the way he performed, but I think Penix did what Penix was asked to go out and do, and that was execute the run, hand the ball off, throw the ball when needed, and that's what he did. Because in the first quarter, Penix made some nice throws, whether that was to Pitts, Drake London, Mooney.
Yeah, I don't think Penix is limited to what he can do on the field in any shape or form. I think he can make every throw, and I think the offense coordinator Robinson has confidence that he can go out and make every play. I don't think that there's any limitation that you need to put on Penix.
When your head coach states that your quarterback that is so young makes throws that Matt Ryan couldn't make, that tells me all I need to know about Michael Penix. Yeah. Like, he's the real deal. Michael Penix, we drafted a good one.
Yeah, he's not a liability at all. He can go out and get it done. And I think they got the confidence in it. It was just the game plan. We were, like I said, 36 minutes of controlling the ball. The only thing that we didn't do is finish in the red zone. and that's the only thing.
Yes,
Everything else, it couldn't play out any better. That if we go out and exchange those 3 points for 7, at least two times, we're not even having this conversation.
Yeah, it's a blowout.
We're not even having this conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Falcon fans, man, tap that like button, leave a comment. If you're watching the live after the live video, please comment, because I will be sure to get back with you in the comment section, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, whatever site you're watching this on. I will be sure to comment back at you. Also, Falcon fans, DFU will be making a new Facebook page. It'll be a public Facebook page to anybody. So if you see Dirty Fanatics United, a new page, please accept the friend request or send a friend request or follow, whatever it may be, because we're going to try to build over on that side of the platform as well. We did the Facebook groups for a while. There's so many Falcon Facebook groups, and I feel like people just get cross-referenced when it comes to this podcast, these people. So we're going to create our own page. It'll be just a regular Facebook page. You guys can add us as a friend, follow us, whatever it may be. And just if you're a supporter of DFU, we'd love to have you over on Facebook as well. Cody, we're right at our hour mark, brother. We're at 56 minutes. It's been a great podcast, a great amount of comments, some good views here tonight. Before we get out of here, I want to give you guys a chance to give a shout out. And I want to shout out both you guys for coming on so late with me. Work week's been crazy, but you guys pulled through, and we had us a nice little 1 hour show. Cody, shout outs to you, brother.
Yeah, no, shout out to you guys coming on, doing a late night podcast, talk about our Dirtbirds. David, I don't know if this was your first, podcast. Excellent job, man. I'm glad you got to come on and talk, Dirty Bird football. Shout out to everybody that, that's up late with us, listen to us talk about our birds. Shout out to the wife that's out there listening. Again, thank you guys. Just keep liking, watching. We're going to keep pushing out Falcon content. But guys, man, it's so good right now after a win. And I'm so looking forward to it continuing, especially in Carolina. So, the only thing I can say right now is here, kitty, kitty.
Shit. Golly. Cody, chill. Mr. David, it was a pleasure once again to have you on the podcast, brother. We're definitely going to see you on here a lot more as the season goes on. David, once again, appreciate you coming through tonight. A late night episode with DFU. Give me a shout out for tonight, brother. And once again, it's been a pleasure.
Well, shout out to Dirty Fanatics United. Shout out to my fans over at Recognized Game. We come through. Like I said, push out this Falcon content. Like I said, I can talk Falcon football all day, every day. Like I said, diehard fan. Love it. Shout out to the wife who's chimed in and following the podcast.
Yes, sir. Rise up. Appreciate that follow.
Yeah, love her. She's always, she's just a bigger fan than me. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Yes, sir.
We both season ticket holders over at the Benz, and we get to watch every game. Like I'm saying, if there's one fan that's a bigger fan that I know of, is her. So she can always sit down and talk Falcon football as well. But like I'm saying, shout out to Dirty Fanatics United for inviting me on. I hope to be able to sit down and talk Falcon football with you all season long. So as I always leave my podcast and say, game recognized game.
Rise up.
Yeah, rise up.
Rise up, Mr. David. Rise up, Mr. Cody. Shout out to everybody in the comment section. I want to give a shout out to our other co-hosts, Philip, Robert, Rick. Robert, hope you make it home safe tonight, brother. I know you got a long drive ahead of you if you're watching the podcast. Be safe. Keep your eyes on the road and stay off that telephone. Falcon fans, hit that like button. Real quick, shout out to Miss Samantha, Sterling Woods, Obnal. You guys kept the comments coming tonight. Southside Ricky, everybody that commented tonight over on Facebook. It won't let me post your comments here for some reason tonight. We'll get that corrected. That's why we're making the other Facebook page. Falcon fans, hang with us, man, because it's a long, fun, exciting season ahead of us. And we have some great content to continue to push out to you guys. So please, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're at 596 subscribers as we went live tonight. Hope to see 600 tonight, man. It was not possible without you guys. So please, 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 it cost you $0 to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, man. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for liking the show. Thank you for riding with DFU this long, man. We appreciate you guys. As always, as we say at DFU, rise up. A-Town
rise up.